When he initially arrived, hypothermia was his #1 problem. We tried to get a temperature on him, but our temperature probes, standard temperature thermometers, start at 94 degrees, and his temperature was below that. He related that he had a premonition, and he apparently always has had a premonition about flying, and he states because of this he specifically asked for a seat in the very back of the plane, and he's very thankful for his premonition today.
Right after takeoff, the plane really started vibrating, really shaking, and at that point I knew something wasn't right.
What did you do?
I reached down, gave my seatbelt one more good tight gig. I really don't know why at this time, but I'm sure glad I did.
After the aircraft hit, how did you get out?
I just reached down and passed the seatbelt and went out what had been the rear of the airplane.
I mean, that was gone? It was just a hole in the back?
Yeah, it's just a big hole. I just swam, walked, however, I'm not even sure how.
This is the B-52G, another modification of the almost 30-year-old B-52 design. This pylon is the alteration which enables the craft to carry long-range cruise missiles. Today was the first real flight for the B-52G as its crew flew out to Griffiths Air Force Base in New York. Brigadier General Walter Poor says the new project is important to Tinker and to national defense.
This modification process has been in the drawing boards for several years now. Of course, this is the culmination. This is the first kit-proofed airplane that's been completed. It's a very, very large project that has to do with Tinker, ALC, San Antonio, and of course the big payoff is national security. This project here will allow us to maintain this bomber for at least another 10 years in a very viable role. It means really everything. It allows the manned bomber force to also continue as a penetrator and to go ahead and send missiles in advance and do that type of work that we need to do.
The entire modification program will span over the next 4 years. The completion of 268 modified bombers will cost close to $700 million. That's believed to be the largest single contract ever awarded in the history of Tinker Air Force Base. Carol Lambert, Action 4.
The announcement came at a Chamber of Commerce luncheon this afternoon. Governor Nigh unveiled the plans for a 3-phase interstate standards project that would upgrade State Highway 74 from I-240 north across the Northwest Expressway to just north of 63rd Street. The governor assured the audience the Baptist Medical Center would not be affected by construction.
But it's important to announce that this $31 million state fund project will have the centerpiece constructed first so that we can be assured that we do not disrupt the traffic in and around the Baptist Hospital. That we will first construct the access roads and the overpass so that when we bring this system of roads up to interstate standards, minimum of 4 lanes, and in some areas 6 lanes, that there will always be easy access for medical care in the Baptist Hospital area.
The governor is happy with the plan, but what about residents living along the route?
I think we need it. I think Oklahoma City needs it, and I think it should go through.
I think if they take it all the way to Memorial Road and use the right-of-way, the roadway that they already have, it'd be fine. But I see no point in taking our houses and going past 63rd Street and then stopping for another 10 or 15 years.
The noise will bother me and the dirt. But other than that, I'm for it. We need it.
Generally, residents along the route were not surprised by the announcement. They've known for years that the bypass was going to come through. They're surprised that it's finally going to happen. Ted Brown, Action 4 at the corner of Northwest 63rd and Grand.
The closing of a number of employment offices across the state won't significantly raise Oklahoma's jobless rate, but the cutbacks will make it harder for other out-of-work Oklahomans to find available jobs. Nearly everyone is concerned. Meetings have been going on at the state capitol, and today, the Oklahoma Public Employees Association met to discuss the problem and ask the state to provide the monies the federal government is cutting from the department.
And it may be too late for the legislature to do anything fast enough to save some office closings and to save some jobs. We can justify productivity-wise and geographic-wise keeping offices open. The time is coming when this agency is going to be hopefully funded some by the state legislature, and I, for one, welcome it. I don't have a problem with it.
House Minority Leader Neil McCaleb couldn't promise any answers, but suggested he felt the Reagan administration's policy was absurd.
It just appears to be that we're running towards the wrong goal. When we cut the employment service, and provide a maximum effort in the compensation area. It's like spending all your money for an outstanding funeral rather than a cure.
So far, around 13 offices are scheduled to be closed. Estimates on keeping them open range from $3 to $5 million. The state employees say it could be one way the state could turn their surplus into a use for the people. Charles Schnetzer, Action 4.
Slide it on here.
The Trig drilling rig had been burning since early Sunday morning. Witnesses say the well suddenly blew out and caught fire when the drill bit struck a high-pressure natural gas pocket. Firefighters extinguished the flames early this morning, but they couldn't cap the well. The twisted metal of what used to be the drilling platform laid in their way. Six pounds of dynamite made quick work of the metal obstacle. Heavy cranes maneuvered into position to lift the molten mess. Workers had to be careful. One spark could ignite millions of cubic feet of escaping gas. Pressure control experts hope to install fresh blowout preventers on the well later today. Those should stop the deafening roar of the escaping gas. Then it'll be time to tally up the damage. Most of the $12 million drilling rig was a total loss. But the most important statistic is even more incredible. Not a single person was injured by the blowout or in capping the well. Scott Wallace, Action 4 near Elk City.
Hundreds of people are responding to the plea of giving blood for those injured in today's explosion. Many heard the announcement from radio and TV. Others were told at work. People from everywhere came to help.
I used to be a member of this community, and I just thought I'd come out and give them a hand. They looked like they needed it.
Because they needed the blood, and I just felt compassion for them.
What about you, ma'am? I had O positive, and they said that's what they needed, so I came out.
Initially, a call for O positive and O negative was made. Now, the Blood Institute is in need of all negative types, including A, B, and AB negative. At the Midwest City Blood Center, 2801 Park Lawn, a mobile van unit is set up to speed up the blood donations. Officials are overwhelmed with the fantastic turnout of concerned citizens, and because of the great response, Dr. Ron Gilcher encourages people to now wait until tomorrow to give blood.
What we really want to have donors do at this point is to come in later or tomorrow morning, because the people who've been injured will be using some blood today, but they'll be using, a lot of blood during surgery tomorrow.
In addition to the Midwest City location, blood donors can also go to the Blood Institute facility at 701 Northwest 13th Street in Oklahoma City. A staff will be there throughout the night and tomorrow. Carol Lambert, Action 4 in Midwest City.
Around 2 o'clock this morning, patrolman Dennis Lippy and Carl Zink walked up to this house to check out a report of shots fired. A man opened the door and told them to come in. Lying in a pool of blood on the front room floor were two men. Both had been shot to death.
Both victims in the house. Appears to be a shot, quite a bit of blood. There appears to be some stabbing.
Details of the murders are still being pieced together. A neighbor told me he was awakened by shouts and looked outside. He saw a man struggling with two others. Two shots rang out. One of the men ran inside, then immediately came back out and sped away in a green pickup truck. The other men then dragged the victim inside the house. Police found a semi-automatic pistol next to the bodies and took the occupants of the house, two men and a woman, to the city jail for questioning. No motive has yet been established for the killings, and the victims' names have not been released. Brian Sweet, Action 4.
Medical expenses for the children and teachers injured in the explosion are quickly adding up. Who's going to pay for these expenses? Will the families be faced with the financial burden for several years, or will the school district's insurance come through? According to state law, the district may only be liable up to $300,000. Business manager Daryl Shepard says that's not per individual, but for all the people involved.
I think the kids that are injured could possibly be taken care of in several ways. First, by applying through their own health and medical insurance coverage for immediate needs, and then later, should they feel that claims need to be filed, that need to be filed with the district for any reimbursement or for payments of this nature that they feel might be warranted.
It's hard to put a price tag on a human life, but the school district has insurance, and each family will have to work out an agreement they can live with. Ben McCain, Action 4 at the School Administration Building.
Tuesday's fatal explosion at Star School in Spencer has been traced to a water heater that malfunctioned and exploded. This is the heater after the explosion, and here's what it looks like today. The tank, pipes, and valves have been pieced back together in the state fire marshal's office. A state labor department commissioner and a federal boiler inspector have been called in to help figure out why the heater erupted. The fire marshal is blaming a faulty pressure release valve. However, these inspectors refuse to draw any conclusions.
While there has been a tragedy here, it would be a worse tragedy to have overlooked something that caused this that we might suggest to other people that would prevent a similar occurrence. So we're very interested in the valve, and we'll be looking at that in our safety valve lab.
Can you tell now whether it worked properly?
No, sir, I can't.
Neither of the officials examining the hot water tank are willing to say positively the pressure release valve is to blame for Tuesday's explosion. Although the state fire marshal has said the valve should have released pressure built up in the tank, these men are in no hurry to release information until their investigation is finished. Larry Otis, Action 4, State Fire Marshal's Office.
It's particularly noteworthy, I think, that on a day that President Reagan and the Republican administration in Washington is attempting to cope with a $500 billion deficit over the next 3 years, we in Oklahoma, in the Democratic caucus, are looking at ways to pay off debts that were incurred many, many years ago. What we propose simply is this. Since we are in a very good shape financially at the current time in Oklahoma, we are proposing that of the surplus funds over the next 3 years, we completely fund all of the current outstanding general obligation indebtedness in the state of Oklahoma.
This time a year ago, the nation was looking forward to a speedy economic recovery, but evidence indicates that many areas are still greatly depressed. Take unemployment, for example. The jobless rate has increased in 55 counties, climbing well above the national average of 8.3% in over 4 of those areas.
This time a year ago, the nation was looking forward to a speedy economic recovery, but evidence indicates that many areas are still greatly depressed. Take unemployment, for example. The jobless rate has increased in 55 counties, climbing well above the national average of 8.3% in over 4 of those areas.
Looking at the state map, Sequoyah County stands at 9.3% unemployment, and likewise, Cole County is above the average at 9.3%. Further south in the state, McCurtain County has risen from 7.8% to just over 10%. Its neighbor, Choctaw County, reports a shocking unemployment figure of 11.7%. But good news is reported in Oklahoma County. The 3.3% unemployment rate is well below the national average. It's no secret that people are moving in daily to take advantage of the attractive employment situation in Oklahoma City. One has to merely drive around city streets. Signs like these pop up everywhere. Many businesses are hiring people rather than firing. Lanny Matheson works as a career counselor for an employment agency in Oklahoma City. She's definitely noticed an upswing in jobs.
Because after the first of the year, a lot of people seem to change jobs. That's when they begin to look for new jobs. They've come up off of Christmas holidays if they haven't been working and they want to go to work, or it's the end of a college semester in December also. Maybe they've finished or not going back to school and they want to find jobs. And we're in a record-breaking month this month.
Matheson warns, however, that although the picture looks rosy now, 5 years from now may tell another story. Carol Lambert, Action 4.
I'm Bella Shaw. We went to the Director of School Maintenance Services to see if he could answer some of those questions. We asked Dr. Oliver Stripling about the inspections and if he felt all the potential problems had been corrected.
We have had help from State Fire Marshal's office and from the State Health Department's office. These are experts, so to speak, and we feel like they've done a third job.
But if that's the case, why didn't this inspector at Harrison Elementary School on Monday notice a missing valve and leaking gas?
I'm not aware of the problem that you're talking about. I'm not aware of that when I was more or less concerned about the inspection team, and that's the area that we've been dealing with. I'm not aware, only aware yesterday that we had some heating problems there, that our boiler that heats the building would not heat. You know, the power light would not come on. We corrected that last evening, so I'm not aware of the problem that you're talking about now.
We came here with a lot of questions, and we still don't have many of them answered. Dr. Stripling says it'll be sometime next week before the results of the investigation are known. And he says they may consider revamping the entire inspection process. In the meantime, as long as these flaws continue to be found, parents are going to be concerned. And the death of Angela Martin today, 1 week after the Star Spencer explosion, intensifies those fears. Bella Shaw, Action 4 at the school maintenance building in Northeast Oklahoma City.
State lab workers continue to scrutinize the crackers that may have forced 43-year-old Robert Jones to check into Mercy Health Center. Jones complained of nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and a burning sensation in his throat. He says the symptoms began after eating Nabisco premium saltines from a 15-ounce tin. The Dallas branch of the Food and Drug Administration is examining 37 tins bought from the same Northwest Oklahoma City store. The FDA will determine if all the crackers are contaminated. Meanwhile, the State Health Department has concluded Jones's tin and wax paper contain high levels of a soil insecticide, a type of organophosphate.
So our suspicion at this moment is that probably the contamination occurred as a result of home storage. The thing we're looking into now is trying to define what type of organophosphate compound it is so that we can come up with a more specific analysis of what we're dealing with. But for now, the compound that we're dealing with, we know, is an insecticide and is pretty much limited to the inside of the can.
The health department is continuing its research with the help of a computerized scanner. a device that will figure out exactly what kind of insecticide is on the crackers. Walker raised the possibility the crackers came in contact with the insecticide in the home. However, an FDA report early next week on the 37 boxes of sample crackers may prove otherwise. In the meantime, Robert Jones is checked out of the hospital, but health officials are still warning consumers not to eat the crackers. Larry Otis, Action 4, State Health Department.
The nuclear industry is a building one, and with its growth has come regulations on the manufacture, use, and disposal of nuclear products. The Kerr-McGee Corporation is involved in a lawsuit to relax some of those regulations, and there is legislation before the U.S. Senate that would do just that. But opponents want the regulations intact. They say the corporations can't be safe and competitive with other energy sources.
Nuclear corporations, including Kerr-McGee, are having to find ways to cut cost, and they've always preferred to be able to do that by violating health and safety standards or getting health and safety standards set aside so that they don't have to include any safety features in what they're doing and don't have to clean up their waste.
The Sunbelt Alliance says they're just individuals volunteering to help Kerr-McGee. Well, it's not very likely that Kerr-McGee wants that help, because the Sunbelt Alliance might just be helping change the public mind about nuclear energy. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4.